There are some key materials that you need to have a successful speech therapy session, and I'm gonna give you guys that list broken down into 6 categories. My name is Jay Washington. I'm a speech language pathologist and early intervention, and I'm going to talk about some of my favorite speech therapy materials that I use during my sessions. So working in early intervention, I work with ages 3 to 5 years old, which is pretty much preschoolers, children that either just started preschool or this is their last year and they're going into kindergarten. So we're teaching those like early speech and language skills, and these children are busy, okay? Like, they're very active, they need a lot of hands-on, they need a lot of structure. So in the beginning of my career, I genuinely struggled. I was like, what do I do? Working with children with different diagnoses, it was just very challenging to me. And even just little kids in general, they have a lot of energy, and trying to sit a child down for 45 minutes to do this one-on-one session, work on these goals, can not always be the easiest thing. But after a few years in the field and working in different positions in the field, I feel like I don't want to say I've mastered it, but I have figured out some things that genuinely work for me. First on the category is I genuinely feel like you need to have some type of building item or something that you can put together. So this is going into that like hands-on thing, something that a child has to kind of build together to create something. So this could be like a puzzle. This has a lot of pieces, and in the end we see an image. Now a lot of children, they may not know how to use a puzzle or things like that. I have a lot of little kids that don't really understand like the pieces have to fit together. So this is a lot of modeling, a lot of following directions, imitating the movements. I like to use this for, once again, a lot of vocab, because once they see like the puzzle form some type of picture, then they can name it. We can talk about that image. A lot of blocks, even if it's something simple as jingle blocks. With my 3-year-olds, you don't have to necessarily play the game. They may not understand the concept of Jenga, but they understand these little blocks. They like seeing them stack. This is good to say, oh, you're building a tower, you're doing this. Like a lot of that parallel self-talk where you're describing what you're doing. Once again, this is keeping them very busy. There's a lot of these little cube toys that you can put little items in. I love magnets. I have some magnets. They can stick together. Once again, you could say you're building a house or a car. Lots and lots of building and stacking toys work great. A lot of daycares, they have like the peg toys. They fit, things that just kind of fit into each other are really awesome to use. And I like to say put those under that category of something that is a building / put together item. Next is some type of turn taking game. This is where I like to use that sentence or that phrase of like my turn, your turn, sharing, patience, noticing that they're having to do this like back and forth. This is also good for practicing conversation skills, sharing, using 2 to 3 word phrases. So I love that a lot of SLPs, they like to use the pop the pig or the pop-up pirate, where it's like you're having to use a sword. So this is one thing where they get a turn, you get a turn. Some type of board game or spinning. So I love that. This also takes up a lot of time. It's interactive, and there's so many skills that you can work on. Also a memory game. So if you have to take turns flipping the cards up, once again, they have to look, they have to realize like, oh, you just had a turn, it's my turn. So any type of one-on-one game. This could be, I've been recently doing this ring toss game that I got from Temu. This also falls into that building, because the kids I always make the child have to put the game together. And I love it because it's like it is a ring toss game. So once again, it's turn taking. I'll give them a ring, they'll wait, then I toss, then I give them one. And that also takes up a lot of time, because I had one kid that wanted to do that for about 15 minutes straight. I talk about things that take up a lot of time, because in the beginning of my career, something that I really struggled with was like not knowing how to fill up space for these 30 minutes or 40 minutes or however long that session is. But if you kind of follow this, like, oh, I have this activity, this activity, this activity, this is going to take 5 minutes, this is going to take 5 minutes, which I honestly could do a whole separate video about, but this is just basically the materials that I use and how to use them. So a turn taking game is definitely key to adding to your sessions. Next up is a sensory item. So sensory items can fall under like sand, Play-Doh, a sensory bin that you could fill with like rice or beans, anything that a child can run their fingers through and just play. With the Play-Doh and the sand, you can use a lot of different molds and cutters. So once again, this is a very hands-on touch. Even with books, I have a lot of books that have texture. I had a farm animal book today where the child was like, it was furry or bumpy, so it was a book, but it was also kind of falls under that sensory item because it's something that they can touch and feel. Next would fall under craft. I am a crafty hobby person by heart, so I love to do crafts, and crafts don't always have to necessarily be a multi-step activity of making some type of animal or food or project. I consider just a coloring sheet is a craft, using just blank paper and dot markers. I do that a lot. If you watch my vlogs, I love doing a dot marker and just blank paper because kids just love seeing the colors and they love like smashing it. Any type of colored pencils, crayons, anything that just involves any type of artsy thing. I like to just glue tissue paper to something, or just printing out simple templates, whatever your theme is. If you're doing an ocean theme or a food theme, a space theme, print out a picture, have them color it, describe it. This is a good requesting thing. They have to request what materials, what colors they want. If this is something they have to cut out, this is a good WH questions. Or, oh, we need scissors. What do we use scissors for? So anything that falls under art is always a good thing to have during your session. Next one is books. As an author, I am very pro using books in speech therapy. Books can be, even if you could do books a few different ways. If you don't want to necessarily sit and read the actual story, some of my kids that don't necessarily have that attention span to listen to a story will just flip through the pages, name things. I'll have some type of craft or color sheet that accommodates the book, or little small animals if those animals are also story characters. The book to me kind of just serves as like the staple for the session, and then you can incorporate those other things. This is really good for identifying and also WH questions, and it saves you ink because if you don't want to print out flashcards, I like to just hold the book up and just do, what's this? I didn't like, what's this? Oh, where's this? So many language comes from books without you actually having to sit and read the story. The last item that I genuinely like to use, and I always like to save this one for the end, is an iPad. iPads can be very reinforcing because everyone, like a lot of kids, get very iPad addicted. I've actually had a family that requested that I don't use the iPad because they didn't want their child using electronics. But when it comes to using the iPad, my favorite website is Pink Cat Games. Super simple. You could just type in what you want to work on. If it's articulation, say, hey, I want words with S. WH questions, they break things down by age, so you can put, oh, this is for preschooler, to where I've literally used it for my 4th graders and they'll do more age appropriate vocab. Boom cards is really popular. These are also all free things. Of course, they have free and paid items. There's a lot of SLP websites. I have not taken advantage of all the sites and apps that are out there, but there are so many, so eventually hopefully I can make you guys a little list. But I like to genuinely save the iPad for last. It's one of those things where it's like, because I know a kid will get really stuck on it and it's just not something that I like to use, but it is convenient. Once again, with the boom cards, they can go with so many different themes. So I could say, oh, if we're working on ocean, I'll look for like an ocean themed boom card, and they can move the animals around. You can get that same language, WH questions, following directions, imitating, so many goals with the iPad that you can just do. And then of course, like I said, there are a lot of websites and apps that directly can help you type in what exact goal you want to work on, and there is a game or activity that's interactive for you to use. So in conclusion, my 6 things that you need to have: a building item, turn-taking game, sensory item, a craft, a book, and if you just have some electronics, an iPad, YouTube, music, all those things are great. So make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and comment below actually what type of SLP content you guys would like to see, or what questions you may have. I have a lot of topics that I want to discuss, but it just always helps me when you guys have specific questions that I can sit down and talk about.